I thank that speaker for her speech, and now call upon the Deputy Leader of the Opposition to continue the case.
So for someone who began her speech by saying that she isn't funny and she wasn't going to try, she spent a great deal of her time mocking my partner, mocking side government, rather than engaging with those arguments, playing to the audience and trying to make them laugh, rather than trying to perhaps say whether or not there might be some cases where we should do this, or offering real arguments why we shouldn't. Other than the utterly specious Mossad cod multitasking. It's just crazy. I'm firstly going to talk very briefly about specifically who is actually doing this right now, and how, and why that isn't a transferable skill, why these people couldn't also be trying to assassinate Iranians, given that mostly we're not trying to assassinate them with bombs in Iran. It's a different group of people with different skills and different languages and who look different. Right? I'm going to talk about the trial of Milosevic and why trials are important. Why you, even if that information is in the heads of prosecutors, why putting that information in the public sector, which is what Ben meant when you find out new things, the people find out new things, survivors find out new things, people in the world find out new things. And I'm going to talk about why Israel also, as well as sticking up to its original principles as a haven for Jews, also needs to stick up to its principles as a country that will seek justice, for everyone who is the victim of genocides, not just Jews, not just survivors of Holocaust.
On that.
Right. Yeah.
So you now have expanded a new model whereby Israel should also hunt other war criminals.
No. Now, when Israel says there is a statute of limitations on war criminals, at a certain point you get away with it, that is an insult to the victims of all genocide. Right? We say that Israel should diplomatically support the efforts of all countries to get justice for those people. Right? So they support diplomatically Bosnia and Herzegovina when they demand the extradition of all nationals and say, we will never stop. Right, that is what Israel should do. That doesn't undermine Israel in any other way. There's not an additional motion, right? It's not an additional burden. Right, but let's be clear, a lot of non-Jews died in the Holocaust, right? Israel is sticking up for non-Jews, gays, gypsies, people with disabilities who are also murdered by the Nazis in the same camps, in the same programs, right? They died in the same smokehouses, and the same people will be tried for both crimes, right? They are also sticking up for a general principle of justice, not a specific principle just for some people, right? And finally, right, she just doesn't engage with people where there's a really genuinely clear case that they did it, and with sufficient identifying marks that they couldn't hide. Like, for example, the body of Joseph Mengele has never been formally identified. He's almost certainly dead, but if he is alive, we definitely should try him, and he almost certainly couldn't hide. There are various pieces of information and such an enormous number of witnesses still alive and mentally competent that he could never possibly anything happen except for him being convicted. He's almost certainly dead. We think even the small possibility he's alive justifies continued attempts to look in Argentina for him, and we think we should do that. Right? Certainly, they have not shown why in the real number of cases we shouldn't be doing this. I want to talk briefly about an actual example. There's a guy called Oleg Timoshuk, who is a former Ukrainian prison guard in an SS camp in occupied Ukraine. He's an Australian citizen. He was in 2004, Israel sought his extradition from Britain to Israel, in cooperation with Interpol, and actually with Britain, but did not know that he was a suspected war criminal when he came in because he lied and used a fake passport. He also had a real Australian passport, but he lied when entering the country. Right. He then was tried in 2004. Israel sought his extradition to Israel for trial. He was released only when a British judge was satisfied that the guy was mentally incompetent, right, and could not. Right, but we still think that process was important because did it lead to people saying, "Oh, the Holocaust didn't happen"? No, it actually led to a whole lot of press about how the Holocaust happened in ways that people didn't know. That, for example, non-Germans were involved in the Holocaust. They happened in places they didn't think about. Right. It also led to this particular individual can't be tried anywhere because he's now lost mental capacity, but it certainly didn't lead to any of the things they said. It didn't lead to a surge in support for Holocaust deniers. It didn't lead to negative stories in the press. It led to people saying it's good that we are continuing to stick up for these victims, continuing to stick up for the large number of ordinary Ukrainians who died at his hands, and it was important, so the Ukrainian government said it was important this person be tried, right? And frankly, if they're trying to play for what is going to please or play into the worldview of the twisted, tiny number of people who are Holocaust deniers, they interpret everything as evidence the Holocaust didn't happen. Every time Israel does anything, they say this shows there's a cabal of Jews, shadowy cabal of Jews, making everything up. Right? We can't try and work with those people. So why was the trial of Milosevic important? I'm going to keep going. The trial of Milosevic is particularly important because one guy was being held up there in front of others and made to account for his actions. Right, made to account for the people who died, including a large number of people in their 80s who are still totally mentally competent now, who can absolutely remember this, and frankly a lot of them wish they couldn't remember this. Right, those people have to get talked to. They get to challenge the person. They get to give their day of testimony in court. That was incredibly important for the mothers who testified against Milosevic. We say it'd be incredibly important for the people who were 10, like when they were in Auschwitz and Mengele was experimenting on them or their siblings or their parents. We think those people absolutely, plausibly could still be alive and well enough to testify, and those people deserve their day in court. And in that trial, new information comes to people who are not aware of it. The full scale, the full horror, even if people may have been aware of it, is pushed to the forefront. More information is given to more people. It's important, right? And fundamentally, we just think that even if there are some harms, right, that come in other places, Israel has a fundamental duty to the people whose deaths probably made the existence of the State of Israel possible. The huge number of people who were slaughtered, right? We think their lives should never be held in vain. This should be one of the most important things for the State of Israel. And importantly, because it goes to a general principle of justice. There are some crimes that you should never be allowed to get away with, and 1 minute of life undisturbed for a Nazi war criminal with less people hunting him down, when he's in less fear, is fundamentally intolerable to us. We think it's intolerable to all decent human beings. We think these people should live in fear of their lives. Israel should do absolutely everything it meaningfully can do where effective to find these people. We should make sure that everything is done so that every single one of them that remotely could be tried is tried. Even if 99% of them are acquitted, we want that one guy to be found guilty. And it's just not true. You can ban all you like, it's just not true at all that 99% will be acquitted, but even if it were, he would still be wrong. We beg to oppose.